All right, thanks for tuning in today. Today we're going to create what I think is a pretty cool little project. It's a chip clip or bag clip. This is it right here. And you can see it on my screen. You can 3D print this really easy without any sort of supports needed or anything like that. It's a cool little piece. It actually doesn't take a whole lot of features to create as well. I've created this on my side screen here, so I'll be glancing over there here and there, but I'm going to walk you through it. We're going to create the model. We're going to create it accurately where you could export it and print it off of an STL file. And then in a future video, I'm going to teach you how to make a drawing from it as well. All right, so here we go. Here's what it looks like. This is created by OnShape's Render Studio. Super cool. I recommend looking into it yourself. We're getting to try it out right now. So first thing I've done is I've created a document. Now, if you're one of my students watching this, because this is a project for my students, what they're going to do is they're going to log into their OnShape for our school. They're going to go to classes and they're going to find the bag or chip clip assignment and create their document in there. All right, so here we go. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a sketch. All right, so we're going to go ahead and click sketch and we're going to create it on our front plane. All right, we're going to choose front plane. All right, and then we're going to hit N on our keyboard, or you could right click, go view normal to sketch plane. We're going to hit N, which will do that in a nice shortcut. I love good shortcuts. All right, now this piece is symmetric about the middle here. So we're not going to waste our time and make the whole sketch at once. We're going to make half of it and we're going to mirror it down to save ourselves a little bit of time. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to first start from the end and create the sort of shapes that are going to create the overall object. All right, and along the way, I'll also explain what makes this thing work because it is, like I mentioned, a compliant mechanism, meaning it creates or deals with some sort of need, and then when you squeeze it or actually make the mechanism do what it does, it goes back to its original shape. So first thing we'll do is we'll create a circle because that's what our whole thing's based off of, as a center circle. So hit C on your keyboard and draw yourself a circle. And what I realized right off the bat here is I actually skipped a step that's very important. So let's hit escape. Let's X out. And I'm going to pretend I did that on purpose. So we'll hit the 3 lines. We'll go to workspace units. And this thing is going to be created in metric. So we're going to switch to millimeter. And then we're going to hit the checkbox. Now we'll go back into our sketch. So sketch, pick our front plane, hit N, all that good stuff. And now let's create that circle. So let's hit C. We'll click right here. We'll draw that circle out like so. And just to get our sketch to the size that we want it to be, let's dimension that circle first. All right, so we'll hit D for dimension. All right, there's this tool right up here. We're going to pick this. We're going to go out here. Click, and the diameter for that circle is going to be 20.25. All right, so now we know if we zoom in a little bit that we're more on the scale that we're intending here. Next thing, we're going to create the sort of end part of the chip clip, all right, which is this over here. All right, so we'll create a circle again. We're going to draw 2 circles here, one little guy and one slightly larger guy. All right, we're going to locate those before we start connecting things up and creating the lines that we need. And actually, while we're here, why don't we create one other circle that's going to be right about here. Yeah, it's fine. We'll move it after. And then we will also create one last circle right over here. So we're going to move a little to the left of the center line, but we're going to make sure it's on the same horizontal plane. And what this is going to do is going to create the inside of our little chip clip. So even though this looks like they all share the same center, this arc here actually has a center that's slightly offset to the left, not by a lot. It's only about a 0.5 millimeter. But the reason we do that is we want a little more thickness here and thinner here, so that this acts like kind of a spring mechanism. So this is going to hold its shape, and then this will allow this to sort of flex and do what we want it to do, so that when we squeeze this little guy, it goes right back to its original shape. All right, so we have these in here now. Let's go ahead and locate where they are and how big they are first. All right, so let's hit D. We'll pick this outside one. This one's going to be 6.5. This little guy, this is going to be 1.55. This guy over here is going to be 2.5. Let's pull that out like that. I like to pull my stuff outside of my sketch just so I can see a little bit better. All right, and then that other one is actually going to be a result of some tangent lines that we're going to put in a moment. All right, so let's now locate where these are. All right, so this one's over here is from the center of that to here. Make sure that goes horizontal. You don't want that angled thing that was popping up. This is going to be 17.5. There we go. And then we are also, in order to create like a nice symmetric line, let's go ahead and create a mirror line. So that'll allow us to dimension across the line for the full width. So let's go LQ. All right, we're just going to turn on construction. Let's start here, go over like this. Just make sure it extends all the way out, and then hit escape. And if you have a white background right now, and some of your stuff maybe looks a little bit different, like my lines are white, yours gonna be black. If you want to switch to this dark mode, just come up here and turn on dark mode up there. Personally, I think it's a heck of a lot better, a lot less abrasive. So now let's put those other dimensions in. Let's go D. Let's pick this point. Let's pick this line here, and then if we move down, it'll give us a full dimension across. Don't mind that it's a diameter right now. We'll put it in 7.55. All right, and then what else do we need to locate? We need to locate the center of this. So from here to this line, it's going to be 1.5. And then from this point to this line, it's going to be 0.5. All right, now let's create some connector lines, and then we'll tell it how we want this to work. So let's go L. Let's first create our top line. Let's move up from the center, which will line it up. And we can do this a bunch of ways. You can click this, we can put a tangent in. I don't mind that this is just vertical here. We're gonna click on that arc, we're gonna go straight over to there. Okay, we're gonna hit escape. And then we'll create another line, we'll hit L again. This one is gonna go from this arc over to this arc. And if you wanna hover over it till the tangent constraint, like mine just did, pops up. I'll pretend it didn't pop up and I'll show you how you do this, okay? So let's click right there. All right, hit escape again, L again. And then we need this line to go here. And notice I'm avoiding those tangents just so I can show you where the tangent points are later, just in case you draw a little different than me. L again. And then this one's going to go from here to, and again, I'm going to intentionally not make a tangent. You could make a tangent. That's just good drawing practice. All right, then we're going to go up here or hit T for tangent. We're going to say this are tangent. This are tangent. These are tangent. These are this one down here. Okay. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to tell it that these lines are horizontal, which will then drag some stuff down where we actually want it. So let's go H for horizontal. That's horizontal. That's horizontal. And notice how everything now went and dropped right down because the combination of that staying tangent with these two circles and the horizontal line means I don't have to dimension how big these are. All right, because as I change this, those circles will get bigger or smaller. All right, I'll show you what I mean by that. If let's say I made this 7.75, you'll notice those got a little bit bigger there. All right, so let's put it back, 7.55. All right, and now we have this shape over here, so let's do a little bit of trimming. All right, let's kind of clean things up. Let's hit M for trim, and we're gonna get rid of some stuff to get the shape we really want. Just get rid of the lines that you see me clicking here. Before we know it, we'll have a similar shape to what we want. All right, so we've got this now. All right, and I'm gonna leave these arcs where they're at. All right, but we'll also trim those in a moment as well. All right, so the next circle we need here is we need 2 circles right here that are going to create like the opening that the spring mechanism closes to actually spring and flex. So let's go C, draw it right from the center circle here, draw it out like so, and draw another one that's slightly smaller like so. All right, then let's put some dimensions in. Let's hit D, pick that. This one is going to be 15, and then the other one is going to be 14.4. All right, then we're going to put some lines in. So we'll zoom in here. Line's going to go right from there to there. All right, and then we'll go ahead and we'll just trim it, and then we'll mirror stuff. So let's go ahead and trim again. So now we're going to get rid of this. So I've got that shape there. And then actually to trim the rest of this, we're going to have to mirror some stuff down. No big deal. All right, so let's hit escape. And now we're going to mirror, okay? So when you mirror, all right, you'll see if we pick mirror, select a mirror line, we're going to say this. Okay, and now we're going to start sending some of this stuff down. All right, so we can draw a big window around it if we want, like this, and it'll move anything that was in the window, or we can go through and click it like so. That's already down there. We'll move this line down. We need this arc there. And then do I have my whole shape? I think so. I think we're good to trim now. So let's hit M for trim, and then let's get rid of these lines we don't need. You also could draw like a little squiggly line through them, like this. You just click and hold it down, like so. And do we have everything? Looks pretty good. All right. So right now it's not happy because we have a couple closed entities. All right. So we have this overall closed thing, but this is going to open up when we put the little tail on the back here now. Okay. So for the tail on the back, we've got to locate some circles and then create some arcs. All right, so let's go over here. Let's create a circle, put it right out here. Let's dimension that circle, 3.95. And the location of that circle, we're going to pick the point. We're going to come over here, pick that mirror line again. And then we're going to go down like this, and we're going to click and make it 11.95. And then we're going to locate back to the center because everything's based on the center there. And that's going to be 22.125. There we go. All right, now we can create some arcs or some tangent circles. Either way will work. Let's just do arc. We'll do a nice little 3-point arc. So we're going to pick here. We're going to pick somewhere over here. And we're just going to kind of flex it down like that. We're going to do the same thing on the bottom. And don't worry, we're going to locate these points later. Okay? All right, now let's hit T for tangent. Make these tangent. Make these tangent. These do not go tangent because we're going to actually locate those. So now let's put a dimension in first. So D. Let's go from here to this point here, or to this center line here. Let's move down. That's going to be 6. All right. And then let's see how to locate that other one. We went from this point here back over to here. We're going to go up. We're going to put that in. We're going to say it's 7.125. And now we're pretty close. All right. But what it doesn't know, and if you're ever not sure what you're missing, if I hit escape and I drag something, see how I can change the radius of this arc here? That means the radius is not defined. So let's go D. Let's pick this arc. Click. That one's going to be 68.6. And then this one is going to be 93.5. That looks pretty good. Now I'm going to trim. Hit M. Trim that away. Trim that away. And, ooh, I didn't draw my arc far enough. All right, so let's go back. Let's do something else. let's go extend. Let's extend this over to here. All right, because that actually creates an opening in here. That's what I messed up. All right, now we'll get rid of this. And we'll put that dimension in over here. Point, point. See, that's slightly different. Make it 6. Okay, now we're going to mirror some stuff down. Let's go mirror off this center plane. And we're going to mirror that, that, and that. And then we're going to hit M, and we're going to trim away these. We're going to trim away this guy. We're going to trim away this little point here. And there's our shape. All right, so we've got what we need now. All right, and now all we're missing is our actual extrude. All right, so let's go up here and let's hit extrude. All right, and I'm just rotating my piece here. So let's use some good modeling technique here. So first off, we want to keep our planes in the middle. This whole thing is symmetric. So let's click on symmetric, which is then going to keep my plane in the middle. Let's make it 10 millimeters thick. All right, that's the size I found works pretty good. And then let's hit the checkbox. All right, now we have our overall piece to start with. All right, so next thing we'll do is we'll put some radii in, okay? So let's go ahead and hit the fillet. We're gonna put one here, 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 and here. And that fillet is gonna be 3.5. All right, we'll hit the checkbox. Now let's see, our next fillet we're gonna put in are gonna be on these little points here. All right, so let's go fillet, one here, one here. And let's make those 2. Looks pretty good, okay? And really what we're doing with these fillets is we're just designing this thing so that it doesn't have like high stress points. So if these were like sharp corners, that's where your piece is gonna wanna break. So now all this force that we're putting on this small piece with our fingers is getting spread through the sort of meat of this thing in the middle here. All right, so certain corners we're gonna keep sharp though, like these in here. All right, so let's hit the checkbox for that. That looks good. And then the other one that makes this look really good is we put a nice little chamfer on the outside. And that's the other reason that we put these fillets in, because when we put these chamfers in now, we're gonna have to click one edge, and actually 2, one on each side. But you'll see, so if we go chamfer, our chamfer is gonna be pretty small, about 0.5 millimeter, so 0.5. But if I pick any edge here, okay, it's gonna automatically do what's called tangent propagation. Make sure this is on. All right, because this limits the amount of clicks you have. It limits the amount of things that can fail down the road. So if we pick this edge here, you notice it previews going all the way around. So we'll pick the one on the other side. Now it previews all the way around. We don't want that edge to be sharp, mainly because it's just going to make it more comfortable in your hand if we break that edge with a little chamfer there. So now we'll hit the checkbox again. All right. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to create the little finger grips on the back here. Okay, so just pull up my little sketch here, make sure I got all my dimensions right. All right, so we're going to create a sketch. Here's where that middle plane is very important. We're going to go ahead and create it right on that front plane again and hit N to rotate to it. And we are going to create a sketch and mirror it across here. So what we'll do is we'll just create like a bunch of circles. And we don't actually need to trim it or anything because, you know, the circles are fine. So we'll go circle, put one here, and one there. All right. And then we're going to make them all equal. So we're going to hit E for the equal constraint. We're going to go, that's equal to that, and that's equal to that. And then we're going to give them a dimension. Well, let's locate them first. But the dimension is going to be a radius of 1. All right, so if we click one of these, change to 2. All right, shrink them down. That's about the size we're looking for. All right, but I'm going to undo that for when we locate them first. So we'll go ahead and go dimension from this point to the center here. This furthest one is 8.45. This next one is 8.2. This next one is 8. All right, then our locations from the center are 16.375. This one is 18.5, and this one is 20.45. And now we can notice though that these are probably going to overlap. So let's go ahead and put this in and see how small they get. Yeah, it's just enough where they overlap. So what we'll actually do is we're going to actually use this edge, and that's okay. So what I'm going to recommend you do is go project curve, pick this edge, and then we'll go M, and we'll trim away everything that's outside of that edge. That's going to get unhappy with me because I deleted half the radius. So we're going to just pick that now. We're going to make a nice radius of 1. Update there. Let's see, what are we unhappy with? Let's see. Let's try this again. I see what we got going on. Let's trim. Let's get rid of these little pieces in between. That's what was unhappy. Dimension that 1. Oh, interesting. So it seems with the order we did this, that it actually created 2 different circles there. All right, that's okay. So what I'm going to do is just make it coincident right there. All right, no big deal. Might not have happened when you actually modeled yours. But basically what happened here was because I trimmed at one point, it created 2 different arcs. So you can see if I start to drag it, those centers aren't shared anymore. All right. And previous to doing that, you can see these were blue too, because they share an equal constraint right now. And this one doesn't. So I'm going to make these equal. This is why it's always a good idea to like grab things that are blue and try and figure out why they're blue. All right. To see what's going on. So I can see that point's moving away. Excuse me. And that's why that one's blue. So I'll just make it this way. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to mirror some stuff across again. So we'll go mirror, pick here. Let's draw a big old window around all this stuff now. Let it jump down like that. All right, just going to make sure that those other edges are all good. That looks good. Okay, let's do an extrude now. All right, we're going to say remove material. We're going to say through everything. And we're going to say symmetric. All right, and there's our little finger grips. So we'll hit the check box. All right, good. We're almost there, almost done. All right, so now, next thing we're going to do is we're going to create our little teeth at the front here. All right, and do a little pattern. Okay, so let's go sketch. Let's sketch on the front again. Let's rotate to look at it. These are just going to be a little circle. All right, so we're going to put a circle right over here. All right, we're going to make that circle. We're going to hit dimension. We're going to dimension it to a diameter of 1. We're going to say I for coincident. We're going to say this point is coincident right here. All right, so coincident. Point's coincident right there. And then lastly, we got to tell it where it is. So D from the point to the center is 2. All right. And then we will do a little extrude. We're going to do it 2 different ways. So we're going to add it. Number 1, it's very important. We don't want this as a new solid. We're going to go up to face. We're going to pick this face. We're going to rotate to the other side. And we're going to go second end position. Up to face. And we're going to pick this side. There's our little tooth. Hit the check box. And then we're going to put one in on the top. And then we'll do a couple patterns here. Actually, no, let's pattern it first. All right, so our pattern now, we're gonna go up here, we're gonna go linear pattern. Now here's one thing that's real tricky in OnShape. When you go to pattern, remember to switch to feature pattern for things like what we're doing here. And we're gonna say our feature to pattern is this extrude. The direction is along this edge. Flip the direction here, make sure it goes the other way. Yeah, that looks good. And our distance is gonna be 1.5. There's the second one. We're going to create 11 of these. And we're going to say reapply features. And the reason we're going to do that is because that is then going to reassemble to each of these surfaces. That's the one thing it's going to struggle with otherwise. All right, then we hit the checkbox. There's our teeth. All right, so now we've got to create the top teeth. And that's about it. So let's go sketch again. Front plane, hit N to rotate to it, and now we're going to use this tooth to drive the other tooth. So let's go circle. Let's say E for equal that, and it's going to let me pick it. All right, we can do it a different way. Show you another way. Let's turn that sketch on. Now we can pick that sketch, make them equal, and then let's turn the eyeball off to turn the sketch back off. All right, then we'll hit I, and we'll say this is coincident with right there. Let's give it a dimension to center those teeth. And that dimension is going to be 2.75. And we will extrude it. And we have to do these as separate features because going up to this surface is not the same as this surface because they're at slightly different angles. So let's go up to face. I always like to combine things where I can. But in this case, it's just not possible. All right, we'll put that one in, hit the checkbox. We can still make them as dependent as possible. That's why we made those two circles equal. All right, and then we will go ahead and pattern again. So let's go pattern. Let's go, the entity to pattern is that extrude. Oh, sorry, I did my own thing that I was explaining earlier. So let's go feature pattern. We're gonna pick that extrude. The direction is along this edge, and then how many of these we got? We got 10 of them. So same distance, 1.5, 10, reapply features. All right, we hit the checkbox. All right, and then let's give it a little style. Let's change the color. We'll go edit appearance by right-clicking our part. And I don't know, let's make it a nice red or something like that. Maybe a blue. Looks good. All right, and then the other thing I recommend you do whenever you create anything is rename your tab. All right, probably should have done this at the beginning, but let's call this bag clip. All right, and if we rotate back here and I turn all my stuff off, there you have it. There's your bag clip. All right, and this part is really easy to print. If you export it as an STL and rotate to print right off of one of these two faces, you shouldn't need any support at all, okay? On pretty much any FDM printer. All right, thanks for watching. I hope you learned something. And in my next video, I'm going to teach how to make a drawing off of a very complex looking part like this. Thanks again.